So the purpose for me to have this conversation with you, it's because we have helped quite a lot of clients to gain Australia permanent residency. And I really want
Hmm.
to hear some insight from you. And we have followers. I really want to have some insight from you so we can share with our audience about your thought, your entrepreneurial journey, and what you do you think about professional and personal growth. Is that all
Hmm.
right if I ask some questions? And
Of
these
course.
questions, this answer will be shared with our audience. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely happy to do that. Hopefully I can add some value. Let's see.
I'm really interested about people's change, growth, personal and professional growth. So that's the reason
Yeah.
we set up this podcast. Kris, so can you share your own career journey and these key moments, the decision you made in your life that shaped who you are and where you are today?
Absolutely. I guess we can maybe speak to my childhood in a moment, but I grew up across the world. My dad was an
Oh,
expatriate banker. And so I've lived in many countries. I was born in Iran. I moved to Philippines, Singapore, Canada,
wow.
eventually settling in Kenya. Now, obviously,
Really?
and that's still very much my spiritual home. My mother is still there. My brother is still there.
Wow.
Um, but to
Amazing.
your
Hmm.
question, I started my career in London. I did my university degree in London and started my career there in both music and exhibitions. But I soon became restless and I set my targets on locating to Australia. Now, that was not only because it's a beautiful country and people, but also because of business. So I went across professionally. And I discovered in Australia it was easier for me to set up new ventures and set up new businesses. And that's what I've been fortunate to have done since I emigrated 23, 24 years ago. And it's been an incredible journey on the ground since I launched my first technology company publishing company in 2005. So a very great
Wow.
journey so far.
Wow. Amazing. So can I go from the questions that you shape who you are really read about, you move around countries. I believe a
Yeah,
lot for the immigrants as well, that it takes them time to shape, to write their stories. Um,
yeah.
what do you think about this change on transition from one place to another? Does it really matter about space transfer or spiritual transfer? What does really mean to you about
Yeah,
this change?
I think I was lucky in that as a child, I moved quite often. And I think as a child, I'm more receptive to different peoples and cultures and beliefs and ways of working. So it almost seems second nature for me. But I think your question is perhaps later in life when making a big, bold move. You already have a career, you already have a network of people. And so it takes some courage to make a move like that. But it really depends on where you came from and where you're going. And if we're talking specifically, Joanna, about Australia, it's a very welcoming, multicultural country. And it does make it easier to feel more comfortable and accepted. But I haven't changed what my
No,
beliefs are. And I've been able to keep that core cultural DNA in me, but I found it very easy to settle here because people are open-minded and very welcoming. So that's a huge plus and made it feel like home very quickly, to be honest. And now, of course, I'm married to an Australian. I have three Australian kids, so I feel well and truly settled.
I think that matters a lot to you about setting up your family in Australia. Right. So looking back, what are these some turning points when your direction and your thinking changed? What made you to make that decision?
I think reflecting on when I finished my degree and I started my career in London, it felt very repetitive and not very inspiring. I felt like I was on the merry-go-round of work. And I have some health, I'm a diabetic. I wasn't living my best life. And so for
Yeah.
me, it was very easy to aspire to a better quality of life. So it wasn't so much the career. I could have done my business there or here. It was more about aspiring to doing more. And I guess I'm just intrepid. I have a curiosity of people. And so I constantly find myself moving to discover more and learn more. Just because you have a university degree doesn't mean you have to stop learning, right? And so
Indeed.
my journey is as much about my career as it is about my learning. And so the more I
Hmm.
can travel, the better. I hope that gives you some
Hmm.
insight.
Yeah, yes, indeed. So it's really because my understanding it's you no longer satisfy that type of lifestyle before you make change, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. It just felt like I wasn't achieving as much as I thought I could. And I mentioned earlier, there are some places in the world where it's easier to be an entrepreneur. And I was really surprised when I got to Australia how I could set up a business. There's a culture here of a fair go, right? Give everybody a fair
Everybody
go.
fair.
And look, your listeners might be interested to know that my first business was a failure, but it was a very successful failure. We published a magazine and we hired
Wow.
young writers and young editors and really empowered them. It was a success, but our investors pulled out, and so I had to learn the hard way how to go into liquidation, how to administer a business and exit without hurting people. And it's the best lesson I've had in my life now, because you learn a lot, which has then enabled me to run some very successful businesses and exits
Like,
since in the
like,
technology.
right,
Yeah.
right. So you took that as a lesson as well as something that's inspired you and taught you how to do the next stage. So, which
Of
means
course.
you valued everything happened in your life, isn't it?
Yeah, that's very important. Everything happens for a reason, and even trauma, even bad things, you have to say,
Ah,
where's the lesson in that? Why
mm-hmm,
has this happened to me? And
mm-hmm,
if you can reflect and learn, then you won't make the same mistake twice. If
mm-hmm,
you're faced with adversity in the future, you can deal with it better, having lived
mm-hmm.
life. So maybe that's suggesting, Joanna, the more you have an experience, the more prepared you are for the experiences that are yet to come. And I certainly feel that as I get a little bit older. I used to have hair, now I do not.
That's the method. That's the evidence of experience, is it?
This
Yeah.
is experience.
This is experience. Wow, lovely. Well, thank you very much for sharing. So, what originally motivated you to go to into the space, and whether you have this motivation has evolved?
Well, I am a technology entrepreneur. And
Hmm.
when I wrote my final thesis at university, it was on an electronic typewriter. It was
Oh,
before
wow.
mobile phones, it was before internet. And
Wow.
all of these things have come into our lives now, and it's a very different
Mm-hmm.
place. So I have always looked at technology as an opportunity. What can we do
Mm-hmm.
with technology to create a better social impact? How can we use technology for good? And one of my first was Fundraise, which is a charity platform where people can
Mm-hmm.
raise money for their favorite cause. So I've loved technology. It's moving so fast, I have to keep moving. And I couldn't tell you if we have this discussion in 6 months' time, what technology will enable us to do. But with that
Wow. This is
said, it's but we're people, and I enjoy FaceTime and talking to people. So technology will never replace that. But I've been
yeah.
fortunate to ride this wave and do more and more sophisticated businesses because technology has enabled us to do that. So it's been an incredibly inspiring 10, 15 years if you think about what we've as a human race, right?
Mm-hmm. Indeed. And then that has lots of change in the last few months, really about AI and how it transform our life and our questions about difference between us as a human and machines. What do you see the future, since we're talking about this topic now about the technology, the AI part, and how much it can do and help people, enable us, empower individuals. What do you
Mm.
see the future aspects of technology and the relationship between machine and as humans?
Well, Joanna, you said two words there, enlightenment and empowerment, I think. And ultimately, the initial use case of artificial intelligence is to empower us, right? To make
Indeed.
us better. But obviously, there's the other side of the coin. Well, hold on, if it's that clever and powerful, won't it make us obsolete. Now, I
Yes,
don't
yeah.
think it's an existential technology. I am excited by how much you and I can do better with the right insight. So I have an AI assistant now. I have an AI browser that I use to do my research, and the outputs from it are incredible. What does
Hmm.
scare me, though, about artificial intelligence is the fact that there is a physical aspect to AI. And by that I mean data centers. So we are all very aware globally of climate change and environmental
Hmm.
impact of what we
Energy.
do.
Hmm.
I think we're missing the part where to feed AI, you need bigger and better and larger pieces of world real estate to run artificial intelligence. And that scares me sometimes. A place like Australia has
Hmm.
plenty of land. And therefore, investments in data centers has increased significantly in the very short
Hmm.
term. So that's
Hmm.
a part that I am looking at very carefully at this point, how to make it more efficient.
Right. So the data, the land and the power, right? The energy.
Yeah, so we all assume it's this matrix, if anyone's seen the Matrix, that it's just this computer that exists somewhere else. But no, it's very real, Joanna.
Thank you very much for sharing. So we just discussed about um, you worry about, hey, we didn't think we actually needed more power, land to have this data house, and you're
Yeah.
actually not worried about how it's going to evolve in technology, right? What's your concern? You said you have concern in this
Yeah, I
area.
think I do. I think the concern I have and share with others is what I'd call the physicality of artificial intelligence. It needs significant computational power
Hmm.
to be able to operate at scale, and therefore you are seeing a lot of investments in real estate for data centers. And there are
Hmm.
countries like China and Australia which has the real estate, the land in which
Yes.
to power these. But it was really just a comment to say that we're all very worried about the impact of AI on our jobs, on our well-being,
Mhm.
on our
Yeah.
liability. Those things genuinely excite me. Now,
Oh, right.
because I'm already, as most of us are, seeing how incredibly beneficial artificial intelligence can be for us as a virtual assistant, as learning, as taking the mundane jobs off of us so we can focus on other things. So I don't think
Right.
there's a reason to be scared. Of course, there are security issues. Of course, AI in the hands of the wrong people can be used against us. These are inevitabilities, but they happen in every technology and in every discipline. So I
Yes.
think we should embrace AI. I think there's some fantastic opportunities for your listeners and watchers to get
Hmm.
into AI. The thing I'd say, Joanna, not many people are using AI. If you think of the global population versus how many
Hmm.
people have downloaded ChatGPT,
Hmm.
is relatively minuscule. So this can only get larger and very quickly too.
Right. What do you think that as individuals, what do you think they can? We talk about AI, how change going to change us. What do you think as individuals they need to worry about? Or what do they need to do to help us to improve our society, not consume too much of that
Yeah.
energy resources?
That's it. I think th this is, I guess, doubling down on my concern is that it will take energy. It will take fuel,
Hmm.
whether that's natural fuel such as solar or
Hmm.
fossil fuels such as oil, to continue to power AI as it gains momentum. So, global leaders and countries have to be cognizant of the fact that these data farms will impact other areas of our life and infrastructure. So that's one thing. But I do believe maybe even AI can solve that problem by teaching us fuel efficiency. I don't know. It's just moving that fast that maybe we get into this situation where we can realize greater efficiencies around energy consumption and data. So it's a big unknown, but I see AI all over podcasts and interviews, but very few people are addressing what I call the elephant in the room, which is
Oh,
what is powering AI?
well, we're not paying attention to that at all.
No.
We worry about how this big thing gonna shape us, but we didn't know what is actually powering the whole AI system,
Well,
right?
that's it. And look, there's already things happening. I know a previous guest on your podcast spoke to blockchain AI
Yes.
and said that blockchain is the sort of walled garden
Mm-hmm.
around AI in that it can help secure and control AI. But for
Mm-hmm.
those watching that are into blockchain and crypto will know that they farm out power. They use mobile devices to
Mm-hmm.
do computational. So there are ways in which we can solve for this, but I'd argue is far bigger than
Mm-hmm.
blockchain. Blockchain is very contained in a decentralized utopia. AI is for everybody. It's a
Yeah.
plugin in our browser. We're probably using
Yeah.
it right now.
Wow, it's really amazing insight from you, Chris. I really appreciate that your sharing is really behind. You mentioned about the elephant in the room. That's the actually thing that's happening. That we need to take a bigger picture and to really understand that. Do you think
That's it.
actually individuals they who's now not in technology, they should be aware of these big questions?
I think so. I think it's become such an important evolution of technology. There's only really been five or six big evolutions. One was travel, even interplanetary space travel. Then there was
Yeah.
telephones, the ability to communicate globally. There's the internet. And I'd argue that AI is as significant as the internet in how it will shape the way you and I
Mm-hmm.
consume technology, communicate, and understand and learn. So it could, I fundamentally believe in the social impact of technology. I believe, maybe naively, that AI
Mm-hmm.
can make us all better people. But as in, one of my businesses is payments and banking.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, within payments, there's always bad actors. There's always people trying
Yes.
to access
Yes.
your money
Yes.
and to steal. This will happen in every platform and in every iteration of technology and evolution. We just have to be aware of that. To your
Mm-hmm.
question, it already helps me. I'm not an engineer. I don't write code. But
Mm-hmm.
I have, like I said, an AI assistant. I have an automated diary. I have many things that would have taken me a long time, done almost instantly now with free AI tools. So can you imagine
Wow.
if we roll this
Yes.
out to less economically privileged people, to areas of the world who are unbanked, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh,
And uneducated. AI, I believe, can really make a difference at that level of
ah,
society.
so
I'm an optimist.
oh wow, this is amazing. And you mentioned that some of the areas are unbanked, and then they can actually access the same tool as everybody else who's already have a higher education,
That's
and then
right.
that technology actually help probably most likely gonna help solve the inequality issues being talked. Right, it's actually helping us. It's technology itself helping us.
Yes, this is a very good point. Absolutely. And even in health, I have a startup now. I'm the co-founder of a health tech startup called MediFile. Now,
Hmm.
we have an AI patent around what we call preemptive diagnostics. Now, what does that mean?
Hmm.
It uses an AI LM to read medical history and medical
Hmm.
behavior and preemptively diagnose conditions that you might be exposed to. So we're super excited in an aging population. In Australia, we have an aging
Hmm.
population
Yes.
to allow something like MediFile to actually help you live a better, healthier,
Wow.
more socially involved life as we age. So
Mm.
there's things that are happening now which improves the social outcomes of the world. And I know that's a very grand statement, but it's very real. And it's
Wow.
everyday people like you and me that can achieve this now, not your
Wow.
Einstein, not your
No, no,
geniuses.
it's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we all feel like we are very important now.
Oh, of course.
Not one or two genius. And then so do you think that we will eventually solve this? Or should I ask this question? What do you think about future? Are we definitely gonna live longer?
Well, some would argue maybe too long. I think if you are spiritual, religious, or believe in something greater than you, this is one part of a journey we're on, right? And I don't want to get too deep here, but I
Yes,
think
yes.
we have to understand what life is, understand what a continuing cycle is. My proudest moment is being a father. because I'm now imparting on them what they need to know when I'm no longer here. So your question is, can we live longer?
Yeah,
Yes.
we
Um,
already are.
but this is a social dilemma in that who wants to live forever? To quote a great rock song by Queen, do we want to live forever?
Do we actually do?
Technology, technology can get us there, and very
Mhm.
rich people are investing a lot, extending their life. And I don't know. I think we have to. I believe in humility, Joanna. We have to be real as to what
Mhm.
we're doing here and what we want to do later, because we're all equaled when we leave. And so
Right.
we have to be cognizant. So apologies to get spiritual on this, but I think it should inform the decisions we make today
Mhm.
and what tomorrow
Mhm.
looks like for us, but also for people that will be here longer than us. But you and I will be around for a long time, I think. Things are getting better.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, I'm really looking forward to see how AI changes. And then
Mm,
definitely that's a change in our society, especially in China, where a lot of people used to work really hard. And
yes.
then the time the COVID hit them, they stopped to really think,
Yeah.
what's the definition of success? And why do we
Mm,
need live here? And we're giving our time 12 hours a day in works. And then we rely heavily on real estate, investing in that, and our assets shrunk. So people start really questioning about
yeah.
what do you mean by success? Because the society has been taught, we have been taught about success. Get good grades, get a job, be competitive. You have to be better than someone else. But really think
Yeah.
about that way of you mentioned about is that live longer better? What do you want to
Mm,
leave to our next generations? Our experience as a human in this lifetime. Why do we need to do this? What do you think about this definition of success? Is that
I,
changing life? We start
I,
really thinking about spiritual path actually.
yeah, I find it absolutely fascinating. To frame this, if you think hundreds of years ago, breakfast did not exist. Do you know
Yes.
why we invented breakfast?
Mm-hmm.
So people could work at 9 o'clock until 5 p.m. We created the Industrial Revolution to make
Uh-huh.
humans work harder. Think about that. So in the
Yeah.
early 1800s, we needed to build. And so we reinvented how society operates. And you mentioned in China,
Mm-hmm.
pre-COVID, people are very methodical in how they work. They work hard and they work long.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
this reflection is a question of, well, what is it doing for me? Is this my legacy? Is this how I will be remembered by those I leave behind? So again, we're back to this existential thinking, but I do
Yes.
believe it wasn't fun. COVID was not fun.
No.
But the ability to reflect on
Right.
how we
Yeah.
then approach things is really cool. And then to take it back to the question you asked right at the beginning about the beginning of my career or where I moved and why I
Yeah.
moved, we
Yes.
mentioned we needed courage. Well, no, maybe we just want to live. Maybe we just want to experience. And
Mm-hmm.
would we have that courage if we hadn't reflected like you and I are today? And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a really important point. And I'm sure we could talk about it for days, but I think if
Oh.
we bring it back, if we
Mm-hmm.
don't just make what you do for work impact your life and other people's lives. Now, whether that's just physically producing something beneficial or whether it's inspiring someone to be better, you are doing a good job. That for me is fundamentally why I do what I do. I hope that makes sense to some of your
Yeah.
watchers.
Yes. Yes. I'm really similar to some of our audience. Really, we really focus on work. It's become a burden.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't think they are empowered to go to work every day. If you see, go to the train, people just really spending enormous time watching TikToks, are not
Yeah.
a focus on presence, enjoyment of solving a problem. What I say myself in work is really about I like to solve problems. And I'm excited solve the problem. Lots of our local workers, should I say, digital workers or whatever the works they are doing,
Mm.
they kind of feel burden. That's a part of burden. that I
Yeah.
have to do. I'm not enjoying this at all. I hate to travel long distance to go to work. But on the other side of our society, some of people are really giving up, totally giving up their way, which they give up their own lifestyle where they move to small areas and then they don't
Mm.
work at all. And then they call lay down. This is a phrase called lay down, which
Right.
not going to participate in anything. Right? I refuse. So I think that's a percentage of young people,
Yeah.
because they won't be able to pay the mortgage ever, because that
Yeah.
house is expensive, and they don't want enjoy being parents. They don't want to find partner. They want to
Yeah.
minimal lifestyle. That's really large percentage of young people here in China giving up totally. This is called, sometimes you can consider digital nomad, but it's really large percentage of young people doing this way now.
Laid down. That's incredibly interesting. Um, I don't know whether to admire that or be really upset about that because
Mhm.
you mentioned digital nomad. Um, yes, you can be a nomad. The meaning of that word is lonely, right? Being of yourself. But
Yes.
I think what you're speaking to is people giving up on the normality of life, right? It's too
Indeed.
hard. And no, it's very hard in Australia to buy a house now, right? Things have changed. And I
Yes.
think
Yeah.
we combine that with AI and think there's no hope. But then if you reverse engineer that and think, well, can AI enable that person that's given up to do something meaningful, to learn, to connect, to work
Mhm.
on their own terms, right? So
Mhm.
maybe we're doing away with the 9 to 5, but maybe people can find meaning in doing something that actually inspires them. So again, I am an optimist, but I think we're missing something here. It's very easy to write a headline, AI will take over the world. The world will embrace AI and just sinking from the top down.
Mhm.
And I have young children and they do what I call doom scrolling. This,
Mhm.
just scrolling. I decided not to regulate them. I
I
said,
feel
you
it.
can do that, no problem. And it's interesting what's happened because my not being strict and not having a digital walled garden, they have become, they found the technology useful. They've now found life skills like chess
Mhm.
and soccer, and they're using the digital interface to become better at those things. Now, that is not our doing. They have self-regulated. So I believe that the better access to technology will actually make people better as a person as well as a digital native. Because we are all now, anyone born since me is a digital native, right?
Yeah.
They're born with a smartphone in their hands, literally. So
Already. Yes.
can we ignore that or can we embrace it? That's the question we need to ask. What
Mhm.
would you choose? There's got to be some good in this. And I see it every day.
Thank you very much, Kris, for sharing this. Because I can see that you are very spiritually empowered person. I really want to ask some personal questions. Is that all right? About
Of
personal
course.
growth. In my career, I have a time where I'm asking big questions of why I'm doing what I'm doing now. And
Mm.
is that thing that woman really helping people? And how about me? Because I'm into migration, because I'm interested into people's movement. Why people
Yeah.
make decisions to move and what shapes them. Why some people made it and others didn't. Why they scared of moving. And did they write the story before they move? So social questions, I end up doing migration work.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
so my personal question here is really about career, and personal and professional growth. It's how a person like myself to make decision. What am I going to do? Because when I have a company here, I feel that I have to support my colleagues. Everybody needs a job there, and I really want to keep going. But I don't know when I need to stop. I just felt some point of I really need to stop. It really, really doesn't make me feel that fulfilled, because I really want to answer the big questions. For migration work, you can imagine we may help 200 people per year, but I feel this is too little for me.
Mm.
I feel I can do something better. I want to ask big questions, interview lots of people. When I'm interviewing here today, I want more people to listen, to hear from you,
Mm.
to dare to be an influencer, to really touch. touch the souls of millions, so they know
Mm,
from your experience, as you talked about technology, and then you move around cities and countries, and then you make big decisions in your life.
mm.
What kind of advice would you give it to me?
Yeah, wow, that's a great question. I think I've been fortunate in that I've moved a lot as a child. And in doing that, I've experienced much. So in Africa, I saw things like microfinance, these
Oh,
charities enabling farmers through loans to make enough money to pay it back and have a life. So this is called teach a man to fish and he'll eat forever.
mm,
So I'm fortunate in that everything I do in my career is now based on how do I make a social impact. So the first company, Go Fundraise, it's allowing individuals to raise money for other people. So that rewards me greatly. But that is unique. Not everybody is in that situation. So I believe philosophically, in something called duality. Now, that can be black and white, it can be good and evil, it can be yin and yang, but there
mhm,
is obviously two sides to it. It's deeper than that. So,
mhm.
if you have a career where you're working hard and it's making money for your family, but it's not fulfilling, I
Yes.
personally also volunteer my time. So, I'm on the board of a charity here, a wildlife sanctuary in Byron Bay.
Oh, oh.
Um,
Hmm.
I volunteer that, I'm chairman of the board, and I volunteer that to
Got
give
it.
back. So I think there is this yin and yang, this duality where if
Right.
you're not doing things that are rewarding for others, you will never be fulfilled. So
Yeah.
either you do a job that helps others, like you do, right?
Hmm.
Or you do other things beyond that to
Right.
contribute back. And maybe it's a very simple point to make to the audience, but it is about
Yeah.
feeling part of a community.
Indeed, indeed. Oh, that's really good. Recently started to do these live streams, talking
Mm,
about inviting psychologists to our podcast, inviting them to share, talking about problem mental health, right? It's really not about my work though.
yeah.
But then I got some audience, they text me, they send an email to me, they say, this is really right time for me listening to you today. I have been suffer for so many years. And then now I feel I'm not alone. So I felt, wow, this is a good thing. Even it's not to do with the work. I guess that's I should just continue doing that if they give me a really good feedback
Well,
on that, right?
and do you know what's really interesting, Joanna? You've
Yeah.
just done all of what you've just done through technology. You said, I'm live streaming. I got a message, I got an
Yeah.
email. So we're using technology to connect more people to feel
Yes.
more included and feel better. Now, it would
Wow.
take you, it would be a full-time job 20 years ago to go to the village and see people and connect them and talk.
Yes.
Now you're
Now.
explaining something. So let's all pause
No,
and realize it's not all very scary. We can
it's
do this.
not.
It's okay.
Indeed, indeed. And then one time we have 1,000 people pass my live stream. 1,000 people. We
Wow.
got statistics. I said, oh my God, like how possible, impossible that I was able to do it 10 years, 20 years ago. They feel someone can share the struggles because I was willing to struggle and I move around. Some of them, our audience, they move around as well. And they feel a lot of culture shocks. They
Yes.
don't know what to do with the works and they feel hard to start something new. And they
Yeah.
experience difficulty in about their relationship with their kids and how do they integrate with the life really. So lots of problems that I experience that, but now I
Yeah.
see, well, that's good. I can still, which that would be no conflict, I can still do my professional job,
Of
um,
course.
but I can still spend some of my time doing my
Yeah.
live stream.
Let's uh let's take this offline for a moment. So remember I said my kids
Yeah.
doom scroll, right? My heart melted at Christmas time here when my
Hmm.
kids, I have 9-year-old twins, they were
Yeah.
writing Christmas cards
Hmm.
to send to people who live in residential aged care, who are
Oh,
lonely, who may not have
wow.
family. So
Hmm.
my kids went offline and wrote cards and then delivered them to the aged care facility. So whilst we can say, yes, technology is amplifying the good,
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
really nice that you can also go offline sometimes. In
They go
Australia,
offline.
we call it forest bathing. If there's a forest near you, go for a walk. Take in
Go for a
nature
walk.
because you have to not be overwhelmed by the vehicle through which you and I are talking right now, which is technology. So it's amazing. It's incredible.
Wow, writing
Yeah,
letters. Even
if
in
you
school
remember
all
how
the
to
time.
write. I
They
don't
write for
remember how to
the
write. I don't even think I own a pen.
Wow, wow, that's so much fun for them to do that. And then they touch souls. I think that's so important. They
Yeah.
touch souls, even from a 9-year-old twins
Yeah.
writing different letters. So, how do you actually do in your lifetime to really continue learning, have this passion of learning new stuff, and how do you take on that? Sometimes I can be really anxious about, am I learning fast enough? Do I miss something?
Mm.
Am I behind? How do you continue
Yeah.
learning and evolve?
Yeah. I found that a big challenge. Once
Mhm.
I finished university, I thought, oh, I'm educated. I'm done.
I'm
Now
done.
let's focus on a career. I'd
Uh-huh.
only just started, but for 20 years, the beginning of my career, I focused on work, right? Because
Yes.
that's what I thought I should do. It's only later in life, more recently, where I've enjoyed the studying again, the reading,
Yeah.
the learning to become, in my case, a better man, right? So
Hmm.
I want to do better, and I can only achieve that through learning and understanding philosophy and such. So I think it's important to have a life of learning as much as it is to have a life of working. And I put aside the time. Let's make it simple. One Sunday, I'll spend 2 hours reading books, real physical books. And so
Just
for
real physical.
me, I've reached an inflection where that's important to me because otherwise you begin to deteriorate. Lose your memory. It
Hmm.
becomes a condition later in life. So that's important to me. The second, to
Hmm.
bring this full circle, is be
Hmm.
courageous. If your audience are thinking
Courageous.
about move, don't be
Move
scared of the
of
cultural
move.
limitations. Why? Because hey, AI is making it easier.
I encourage you to move around.
Why not?
Right.
What have you got to lose? And it fills you with courage. And that's something I think we've lost as a skill set. So reconnect with having that boldness and not checking out the Lang Ding or Lang Dang, what you were telling me about. It's important not to check out. And you're making a difference there. Hopefully I am, and hopefully we all are, to
Oh,
stay connected.
wow. Thank you. And then you answered my question, all of my questions. So, what advice would you give someone early in their career, trying to figure things out, young people, especially a
Yeah,
lot of them in China and got just graduate and they're really scared and not able to find a job. So, what type of
yeah.
advice would you give to someone like them?
I'd provide very old school advice in
Hmm. Hmm.
terms of don't be afraid of failure. Don't be discouraged by being told no, because if you can get up and fight again, you will find the yes, you will succeed. And I think it's a lost art to know that if you try, and you're concerted in trying and give it the energy it deserves, you will find something. I think maybe we give up too easily. Now, I know I'm in a fortunate circumstance, and I know other people are less so, but that doesn't change that mindset of being strong and believing in yourself. And if
Hmm.
you can, learn. And these days, like we've said a few times today, you can learn
Yes,
easier than ever, right? You can you
quickly,
can
easier, much faster.
you can become a chess master. You can obtain a degree just through TikTok. Come on. And I simplify it, but hopefully that
Wow.
resonates with the audience. You just each no leads you closer to a yes. It's as simple as that. Just persevere and you will get there.
Don't take no as an answer.
Yeah.
Mm.
Or maybe
Take
take
it
it
as
as an
faster.
answer, but know that keep looking, keep searching, be inquisitive because someone out there will say yes.
Wow, this is really insightful. I really appreciate, Kris, for you to spend some time with our audience.
Ah,
And so I really want, if that's a possibility in the future, if we can have a face-to-face
of course.
interview.
Of course.
And then I really want to spend some more time with our audience. We'll have that published in YouTube in English and the Chinese in our social media. Would that be all right with you?
I would
Okay.
welcome it. Absolutely. If it can help, then I'm there for
We,
you and I welcome
we,
more
we're gonna
opportunity.
we're gonna reach thousands, if not
Yeah.
millions, of our
Great.
audience. Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
aspire to that for sure.
That's
No,
his.
anytime. It's been an absolute pleasure. I've really enjoyed the conversations with you.
Thank you very much. Bye.